Hi, friends. Welcome to Beyond Game Day. We have got Kayla Fox. She is the wife of Brett Fox, and they coach high school in Indiana. I had to make sure I had the right I-state. So I know it's so terrible. Welcome, Kayla. How are ya?
I am so good. I'm so glad to be here. And yes, it's Indiana. the
Yes,
best the best I state out of all of them.
I know. Bless my little heart. I know
Oh,
it's just
you're
where
so funny.
the eyes are all there, and it's so funny because every time I talk about you, I think I give you a different eye state that you live in. It's really sad.
That's
I
awesome.
know. Bless me, bless me. Okay, so I want to go back to how did we meet, just from your perspective of what happened, because this is quite amusing.
Okay. It is really amusing. And it's going to be amusing from my standpoint because I love watching my husband's football team. I've always loved going to football games, but I'm not like a big sports person. So when you messaged me and asked me to call you because you wanted to talk about something, and I was like, oh, okay, she seems
Message
nice.
you where? Like,
On
I'm
Facebook.
a Facebook creeper.
No,
That's
it's so
me.
good. So funny, Christy, because I had to click on, I didn't know who you were, and I clicked on your profile. I did recognize your husband, and obviously I knew Auburn, but I didn't, I didn't think anything of it. So we're just messaging back and forth, and my husband was actually gone on a coaching retreat that weekend. And so I called him later and just said, "Oh yeah, this girl, Christy," and he was like, "Christy Malzahn," and I was like, "Oh yeah,
The reason I messaged you was because you have this cool little ministry slash just community on Facebook. And
mm-hmm.
so, probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, I'm looking at you and I'm going, I need to reach out to this woman. She has built up something from nothing, and you started making these stinking cute T-shirts, which I wear all the time, and I'm
yes,
his best recruit ever, and all those
yes,
things. Yeah, it is. And he looks at me, and I wear my Mrs. Coach quite often, but that is, from the good old days with the good V-necks. If you ever want my opinion, I do love the V-neck
yes."
with the, yeah.
I love V-necks. Yes.
So I had gotten a couple of your T-shirts and was following along, and just, I mean, your wisdom, but also your passion for coaches' wives as a whole was just infectious. And so I was, we need to talk because I
Yes.
felt like there was something moving, and I still think there will be a day that we will actually make it happen. But we had kind of begun trying to get a conference together for coaches' wives.
Mhm.
Just,
Mhm.
high school, college, NFL, whatever, middle school, I don't care. But because we all tend to have a thread of the same kind of issues. They all look a little different because depending on, your
Mhm.
life, your place, all the things. But you do have a common thread throughout it all. So tell me how
Yeah.
you can tell me how you and Brett met and all of those things too. But, just kind of give me a little bit of your story.
Yes. So we are a digital love story. We met actually on eHarmony. A friend of mine, did you know this?
I don't know that
A
I
friend of
did.
mine, a friend of mine signed me up for it. I narrowed it down to like five people that I was matched with that I was like, they don't seem like
Creeper.
douchebags, basically. So, yes. So, Brett was one of them, but I didn't do anything about it. I didn't care. And the next morning, I woke up, I was getting ready for work, and I'd gotten a message from him, and I was so close to deleting it, but I was like, okay, if he's one of the guys that you said wasn't creepy, like just give him a chance. And I'm glad I did. We messaged a ton for the next like week or two, and then met and got engaged right away, got married right away. We met. That was at the end of November. So he was an assistant coach at Taylor University at the time. Their season had just ended, and we got married the week before football camp started on August 6th. So
That was
I never
fast.
actually went through a football season with him. It was really
Ugh.
fast. Yeah, but we lived an hour away from each other. And I kept thinking, he was like, he wanted me to go through a football season with him. But I was like, I would would rather see you for 5 minutes a day than only an hour on the weekends. So if we have to just get married and then I know that you're just gonna be crazy for a while, that's fine. But of course, I said that never having gone through a football season with him, so it was a big shock, a big adjustment.
Did you mean 5 minutes
And
a week? Is that what you were talking about? Because really,
yeah,
that's closer
exactly.
to what it looks like during season. Yeah.
Exactly. So, so no, it was a big adjustment, but I loved it. It was fun, and it helped that I had already we weren't older. We were in our mid-20s, so I'd already had a house, I had my job and all that. So I'm pretty independent, so it was fine, and I was thankful to be his wife really at that point. But yeah, and then the next season we ended up pregnant with our first, and so we had a bunch of babies back to back. We had 4 babies in 5 years. Um, and so just through that, and then adjusting once that all happened, that's when we made the switch to high school. And somehow, by the grace of God, we are still at the same high school we switched to 9 years ago, which I feel like is unheard of. But it's been such a good fit for our family and all of that. So, but yeah, it was during that time of by the time I had my third baby, I was just looking forward to Friday night so much because it was my time to get out and talk to adults and like be a human instead of just a mom. And that's when I started like making shirts and just kind of playing around with some things. And so I started making some coaches' wives shirts, just maybe for extra money, but it was just a creative outlet, I guess. And it was within like the first month or two of selling shirts that I was like, the coaches' wives need someone to talk to. I mean, my inbox was filling up already. And so that's when I created the huddle and like just had a place where wives could come together and talk, and somehow it ended up morphing into so much more. But that's kind of where it all began.
Because you did a podcast. I don't know that you're still doing them, but I know you did podcasts pretty often and talked about different topics and had some other wives on and did some cool stuff there. And then we had some Zoom or I guess there were Zoom meetings and you know, you'd kind of let everybody kind of get in and talk, and that was fun. And I know you posted something the other day, and I wanted to kind of talk about that more than anything else. You shared your heart about not wanting to miss out on Facebook when you posted that.
Well, yes. So my whole thing was don't miss the joy in the whole ride. Everyone's called to something, and we were called to football. And like, I don't know. I know there will come a day, especially being in coaches' wives communities. I mean, people are fired on the spot for even after winning seasons. Like there can be no rhyme or reason, and you can have your last day of coaching any day. And so I just keep thinking, gosh, there will come a day when like, I don't know, hopefully Brett and I will be really old sitting on rocking chairs being like, remember when we used to coach? But I want to look back and not think to myself like, gosh, that was so hard, or oh, the comments and what the TV said. Like, I want to look back and be like, that was amazing. Like, what a fun adventure. And no matter, like, I love where we are now. I love our school. I love our community. Ideally, it'd be fun to stay here as our kids all go through school. But also, if we're called somewhere else, like, adventure, and like how awesome that it's all through something as fun as football.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of a trigger point for not just the job part for me, but when you said that, what you said was something along the lines of, there's going to be a last day. And, you know, it's interesting because my daughter had just texted me something about my grandson no longer asked for, you know, it was like the hug, the kiss, the good morning snuggle that he used to want to do. He's not doing anymore. He's 4. But she said, I don't remember when the last one was. And it just triggered that so much of the things that we do as moms or as women or as couples or it applies to our jobs too. That, you know, we can get emotional about or have that moment of I really need to cherish with our children, but we need to be cherishing the good and the bad and really finding the joy and the fun of what's happening and trying to pay attention to, you know, this really could be gone tomorrow. You don't know. You don't know when your last day. It might be the last day that you're there, And truthfully, I can say this now. I had days because of what was happening with us being on the hot seat. Gotta love it.
Mm-hmm.
But I had multiple days. I can remember walking out a couple of times out at Auburn
Mm-hmm.
and standing on the field and just like soaking it in, everything that was going on around us, the eagle flight, all of the stuff, because I knew, the reality is this could be the last time that I'm out here like this. It may
Yeah.
not be the last time I watch it, but it'd be the last time that I'm in this position, in this,
Mm-hmm.
with this group of kids, in this space and time. And it was another reminder because I've kind of gotten away from that. And obviously I'm old, but I wish somebody had said it to me when I was young. Not just about my kids
Yeah.
or about, I don't even know back in, because I'm so old that my kids, we didn't have social media. So I wasn't getting reminded of that then either. So,
Yeah.
you never, it's hard to go back. It's hard to go
Yeah.
back sometimes. And so you just don't want to miss the moment.
Yeah.
So,
And I think having little kids now, I mean, we're finally out of the diaper stage, so that's exciting. But you have to keep it fun because you've got little ones that want to have fun. And I think that is helpful. Now, it can be really stressful. I mean, from day one, I've been taking newborn babies to games forever. So, like, loading up all the stuff and trying to keep them entertained and having them crying when it's, 4th and 1, all of that, like, it's stressful, but strive to like make it fun, and going to games as a family is not optional. Like, it's just what we do, because we support each other. It's part of our family culture. But through that, like, we've just made games fun. In fact, we have a game tonight. So this morning, I getting the kids ready for school, and I was telling Alexa, like, play all the game day songs, and we were all dancing in the kitchen getting ready, just because it's exciting and it's fun. So I think when you're thinking about finding the joy in things, in the midst of our harder seasons, or any kind of ridicule or whatever, or criticism, we're not going to let our kids in on that. And so, like, as much as what there's been times when we've been down, like, we still turn and look, 8 pairs of eyes looking at you, and it's like, okay, I feel like I just said that. I don't have 8 children. I have 4, 8 eyeballs looking at me.
I knew
And
what you
they're
meant.
looking to
You
you
got.
I just had to verify that I do not have 8 children. So yeah, so it's easier, I think, sometimes to find the joy. Got kids that are just looking to have fun, and so we just try to make it fun.
Tell me how you prep to take 4 littles to a ball game. What advice do you have?
Bring your parents if they are around, because that is certainly helpful for me. My parents come to almost every single game, so it's nice to have an extra set of hands for sure. And then we also there's girls in the community who have just loved our kids, whether they're sisters of players that we have or just family friends. They'll come, and there's been several games where, the last quarter of the game, they're walking my kids around in a stroller around the track and trying to keep them happy so that I can focus on the game. But I think all of it, I bring things. I have a game day bag where they've got toys that they only see on game day, and snacks, and they get concession stands, money, and all of the things that everyone tries. Like, everything that I do is nothing new. There's no brilliant ideas. I think the thing to remember is they are kids. They're tired. It's going to take them days to recover from being out at a late night game. You're going to miss some of the game. I've missed some really exciting plays, and thank God for Huddle, because I can catch it later. But like, it's just kind of all a part of the experience. And, it's the same thing talking about, one day it'll be Brett's last game coaching. One day it'll also be the last time I have my kids sit with me at a game. Like,
It's
already it's happening.
It's the
where
truth.
my older kids are walking around with their friends, and I just got the little ones with me. But like 2-3 years from now, they're just going to be out and around. And like, I'm not going to have little babies to distract me from tense moments of the game, you know?
Well, and I'm going to go a step further. Someday you're not even going to have your kids around at all.
Don't do that to me.
I know. But somebody asked me this morning, you know, who's coming in this week? And I'm like, nobody. And especially because we've moved further away. And they're in that season of life when they fly in, it is, it takes a minute for everybody to get together and for everybody to get here. And then, you know, you couple that with the COVID stuff and just everything. It's a lot going on to get everybody here. So if I get 2 games a year anymore with my kids at the game, it's very, you know, it's kind of surreal to the point, you know, they were around a little more for Auburn, but still, even there, they didn't live in Auburn, and they had, you know, they've gotten married and they've got their families, and their babies go to bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock. They don't. We were kicking off at 7:30. I think the main thing I would want to really encourage, and it goes back to what you said. Find the joy in what you're doing in the moment and being content with the space where you are. It's not all going to be perfect and it's not all going to be fun.
Yeah.
But there's some cool stuff even in the yucky if we're willing to look at it and we're willing to see it. And you know, we had players injured last year. We lost 8 in one game, 8 starters. And I'll never forget the AD called about something to talk to Gus, and I'm in the background going, it's going to be okay. There's a blessing in this. And he said, hand her that phone. And he got on the phone with me. He was like, so exactly, I want to hear, what blessing are we seeing right about now?
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. I can't say I'm seeing the blessing. I just know because I've lived this long enough. There will be a positive that will come out of this. I don't know what it's going to look like, and it did. We ended up in a great bowl game at the end of the year, playing Florida, and we beat them. And that's how it happened, you know? And so, yay, that was the blessing. We might not, if we'd won all the games, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to play Florida last year. So there is but you just have to kind of roll with it and be willing to. I think it just hit me so hard that last time you're not necessarily aware of when it will happen. I think to really embrace and enjoy where you are is crucial for our society moves so fast. We don't think about those things. We are busy. You know, it's always the next thing. And like we were talking about earlier, the season flies by, and then we spend over half the year, you know, whining about the fact that we want it back. So
I know. Yeah.
You know, you just want to truly take that minute and just go, okay, this is good. This is good. And so I love the community portion of what you're doing with Fly Fox. And I have to say, you know, Kayla, you are quite punny. You're little, when you met Brett, you had to have noticed how cool it would be with that Fox name. I mean, how much opportunity would come out of that for all sorts of cool things. Absolutely. So you have the Fly Fox. Yes, you love being a fox. I'm a fox, honey.
That's right.
You started the Fly Fox as your business, and then you also are a realtor. And so that's another piece of this, that you have a full-time job outside of your full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Multiples. And
so apparently I'm not content just sitting around. I have to busy myself with things.
I don't know.
What's really cool though, I'll just say this. I mean I got into real estate. It was kind of a family thing. My parents do real estate and all of that too. So it's been really fun. But beyond like homes and all of that, I have so many conversations with people who don't only want, you know, a different house with different amenities to suit their needs, but like really what they're looking for is a different culture at home. They're looking for, you know, a family that's a team. And it's so neat. And it's been cool. I mean, I'm really passionate about like minimalism and decluttering and all of that too. So there's a lot of conversations there, but I think it all ties back to being a coaching family as well. Like, if you have to pack up everything and move in a week, it's nice to not have 5 million things. But also we're forced to look at what's most important. Like you think about a wife of a banker isn't walking around wearing a shirt saying banker's wife, or like any other thing. But there's something about like coach's wife and like coach's kid where it's a family culture, it's a family affair, and like coaches, in order to be successful on and off the field, like they have to have a family that's a team and that's a unit, and that works together towards things. And so I don't know, that's what's been really cool about real estate, yes, and about Fly Fox, but also just enjoying my own family and enjoying our own path in coaching is just seeing like, okay, our family is doing things. And again, like if we go to any other school or wherever, like wherever we end up, even if we lose every game, I would hope that the coaching staff and the ADs and the community would look at what we did there and thought to themselves, like, we might have lost a lot of games, but we're better because the Foxes were here. Like they served here, they did this, their kids befriended my kid. It's so much bigger than the game. The game is just the cherry on top. But like there's so much happening underneath the surface that's just cool. And I think as a coaching family, like you're forced to have that be your focus. Yeah. And I think that's just awesome.
I agree. And when we went into college, one of the things that I started noticing, and obviously you're trying to convince kids that this is the best place for them. And, you're always wanting them to put themselves in that game day atmosphere and all of those things. But one of the things that we point out is, or that I used to interrupt guests and say, it would be great if we could play 15 games a year. And most times you're going to play at least 13, your 12 regular season and a bowl most of the time, you hope. But can you see yourself being happy here 350 days out of the year? Like, that's real life. The game days are going to be exciting most anywhere you play because that's good fun. But what about those other 350? How are you seeing yourself living? Because that's what really matters. I mean, you look at that ratio. Yeah. We do all of this prep planning, practicing, and everything else for 12 days or
Isn't
13, 14 days. I mean, that's the reality. Yeah. And so I think it's very important, and especially when they're, the college, high school, Gus used to say, guys, we're putting it up and putting the pads up tomorrow if we don't win this game when we get to playoffs. Yeah. And it was always a motivator. We're not quite ready for basketball season yet. Let's do one more game, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it definitely is something there. And I don't know. I love your heart. I love the willingness that you have to put yourself out there with the silly stuff, the fun stuff, and the serious stuff. I mean, because you've hidden nothing as far as real life being hard at times. Yeah. And yet we all have the hard times, but we also all have good times. We just have to remember to focus on those. And I try to do a, best and worst. I had Kate Dykes said they call it rose and thorn. But what is your best part? What is something that you are so thankful for, or that maybe you didn't see, or if you're talking to young wives that are dating somebody and they're going through this first season of it looking like this, what is the best thing that they can anticipate with coaching that for you that makes you like, oh, I love that?
Yes. Oh gosh, how do I narrow it down? I mean, just off the top of my head, based off everything we've talked about, I just think it's really amazing how coaching has given our marriage such an awesome sense of direction. We dated for 4 months before we got engaged, and we've seen it. Like, we've known people who have just gone through hard things in their marriage. But I think for Brett and I, even during harder years, it's always been, but this is what God called us to do. And so it's just really cool to look at your spouse as your partner and as your teammate, and like how your team matters more than any other team. And the journey that you'll get to go on as a husband and wife will be so much sweeter, and like you'll have so much more time to stop and enjoy it, but also dissect it and see what you can do better, because you're not only leading your own family, your own kids, but you're leading a community of kids. You know, we've got 100 guys on our team that are looking to us to set an example and to love them well. So that kind of puts us in the hot seat in some ways, where it's like, okay, like how are we going to let God use us this season, and like what is He asking of us? So I just think it's cool that coaching gives your marriage a whole other level of even intimacy and all of that, because you're reaching towards goals that other couples aren't being asked to reach.
Right.
So
The common goal for the family, the unity
Yeah.
of. Okay. And
Yeah.
so what is the thing that, if you had to point out something, and I know you're trying, I've heard you be real.
hardest.
So let's just be honest.
Yes.
There are some
Yes.
pieces of it that are not
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
What would that be for you?
I think as a young mom, it has just been the demanding time away. There's lots of times where I feel like, can you not just come home? I mean, especially when he's stopping at a middle school game or going to the freshman game. And I think no one's going to be upset if you're not there. But also understanding, I don't know, I think when I was a younger mom and when our kids were younger and I was still trying to figure all of this out, I always viewed it as he was choosing football over me.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while to see that he was choosing football because he wanted to provide for me. And he didn't want to have to move every 2 years. Like, he wanted us to stick around and have some roots. And so he knew he had to invest in the community in those ways. But it didn't make it easier at the time.
It doesn't make it easier, but it is truly, that's a piece of it.
Like, football season technically isn't forever, even though there's always something he's working on. But we'll get a date night again. Like, we'll get a night to have our friends over, or like just be at home with our kids. Like, you just have to kind of power through. And I think the whole time, remind yourself, I'm not a coach's wife by mistake. God knew exactly what He was doing when I opened up that message from eHarmony years ago. And so if it wasn't a mistake then it's not a mistake now. So surely there's something in here that I don't want to miss out on. You know, like, there's something here that God has for us. So
Right. And I'm going to say, big takeaway, girls and boys, is God even works through eHarmony. So there you go.
Exactly. Yeah. If you need it, go for it.
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Kayla, thank you so much for sitting with me for a little while. We had a few technical difficulties, and so we're just doing the last part by phone call. But it's been fun. It has been pleasure to talk to you, and I hope that you will call me. I do think we're going to put this out there. We need to do a Coaches' Wives Conference. I really believe that. The guys get theirs. We need ours.
We need ours. I agree.
I think we can make ours fewer sessions and more visiting and chatting and having a little, dessert time and maybe even a spa treatment or two thrown in there.
Yes.
all the important things.
We
can sleep in until 10, and then we'll get up and meet for brunch.
Right.
And then, yeah.
I think it'll be a great use of our time.
I think it would be awesome. And I think we'd have a lot of women that would love to come. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you, and you have a great weekend. And
thanks so much, Christy.
We'll be rooting for you tonight. So y'all do well. I know.
Thank you. I know.
All right. Talk to you soon.
At the Coach's Wife side.
All right. Bye-bye.